Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Today's video will be about the financial status of a pilot, and then I'm particularly talking about a starting pilot. So from the moment you sign a contract until you have a first job or the first few years of a job. I'm going to start with the loan of a pilot. In the Netherlands, and I'm saying in the Netherlands because maybe in your country it's totally different, students used to get a loan for the training. When you're 21, it's not likely that you have 150,000 euros on your bank account ready to use for a school or something. Almost everyone has a loan. Of course, there are exceptions. Some people have very rich parents so they can just pay it. I've been noticing that a lot of people think that you're so rich and you have no trouble paying anything, doesn't matter. Well, that's not really the case, and that's why I'm making this video. People forget that you probably have a loan, which is 150,000 euros in my case. 150,000 euros. When you're 19 or 20 or 17, I don't know, when you've never really worked for your money, yeah, maybe at the supermarket, but you won't really have those extra costs or something because you're just living with your parents. You cannot really imagine what 150,000 euros is. So when you finish your training and you have to pay your interest from that loan, I mean, you're gonna wake up all of a sudden and then you're in the middle of the contract, so you cannot just stop, or I mean, you're too late. The interest is about 5%. That is 600-700 euros a month, which you have to pay just to keep your 150,000 level. That is just the main costs of the training. Let's say you completed the training. Then you hope to get a job soon, but in these times, I mean, you probably have a job after 2 or 3 years. It also depends on the school. So let's say you're done with the training and now you have to keep your license current. And that is also a main thing, because you have your medical. You have to renew that every year. You have your insurances, which are about 500, 600 a year. You have to keep your multi-engine instrument rating valid, because if that's not valid, then your license is not valid as well. Airlines won't hire you because there's a one rule, and that's that your multi-engine instrument rating is valid. Some people like to have their single engine piston also valid. That's solely on yourself, because airlines don't care about that, but some people like to fly outside in a Cessna or whatever, and then you have to keep your single engine piston current. Medical is 200 euros. Insurance, let's say that's 500 euros. Multi-engine instrument rating, 1000 euros at least. Single engine piston, you have to renew that or around the 2 years, or you have to make so many hours, or you have to make 12 hours and then it's gonna be fine as well. But making 12 hours, I mean, you have to pay that, or people have to pay you to fly, whatever. And you have to pay your interest a month. Then we're not even talking about keeping your skills up to date. Because you can be invited because your license is current, but if your skills are not good enough, you're never going to be hired and it will only cost you money. So that means that you have to fly in a simulator. Be sure that you can still fly the airplane as good as when you ended the training. Of course, you also have to keep your knowledge up to a good level, because if they're going to ask you something you don't even know what V2 is, then another very important thing is the application. A lot of airlines ask for an amount of money to just get your CV down there on the table. For example, CityJet asks 500 euros just for an application. EasyJet 200 to get invited in the first place. So the moment you apply for an airline, you have to pay money. Or the moment you get invited. Extra costs will be added, of course, because you have to get there probably by plane, you have to get a hotel, you have to get food and everything. It will probably cost you about 1,500 euros for one application and airline. Well, sometimes there are more routes or more stages. So you have 4 stages, for example. You have to get 4 times to that destination, and no way that the airline is going to pay for that. So keep that in mind as well. There are a lot of costs which aren't covered or which they won't tell you prior to signing the contract, of course. And if you're not able to pay that, then one time you'll decide, okay, you know, that whole pilot thing, forget it, I'm just going to do something else because it's so many costs. I mean, and it also depends if you're young or old, sounds a little bit strange, but older. When you're young, for example, 21, 22, it doesn't matter. Because you're still living with your parents, because you won't have the stress of paying an apartment per month. So it's relatively easy. It's hard, of course, but not compared to people who are way older. Because imagine you're 35. I mean, you're not able to live with your parents anymore in most cases. So then you have to live somewhere else. You maybe have a wife or a girlfriend, and you maybe have some children, I don't know, but it all costs extra money. Imagine that you then still have to pay all these extra costs which will be added just to apply somewhere or just to get an invitation from an airline. I mean, it's very hard. It's not paradise, like I said. In general, I'm not saying everyone does, but a lot of people underestimate the situation. So when you get older, it will get harder to keep current, updated, and everything because you have other stuff to do. And then chances that you're gonna stop because you can't finance it anymore are becoming greater and greater. Okay, what I just told you about getting a loan and everything, that used to be all the time. When I graduated 2 years ago, that was the case. But since a few months, the government from the Netherlands decided that the bank could not provide any loans to students anymore because there are so many loans at this moment and so many people who are not able to pay that loan. So they stop. And for the unemployed people, that's a good thing. But for the people who are just starting or want to start a training, that just sucks. I mean, they can only start if they have rich parents, which is very strange. And when I started, didn't matter if you're living under a tree or under a bridge in a box, it didn't matter. If you're good enough to pass the selection process, then you can get the loan. But right now that changed. But that's of course because there are so many unemployed pilots. If there's a pilot shortage again, then it will change. This video is also made for people who are just starting or just completed a pilot training or first few years of their first officer job somewhere. Of course, this won't count when you're captain for already 100 years at an airline, same company and same contract. There are so many exceptions. I mean, if you have rich parents, then this video won't count for you. If you have a job immediately, it's also different. If you have a job at a great airline where everything is being paid for you, it's also completely different. But in most cases, you just have a loan and deal with it, pay everything yourself. And there will always be surprises. I mean, when I signed the contract, for example, I didn't know I had to pay all these extra things like medical insurances. I didn't know anything. I mean, of course there's a contract like this, but I mean, you want to become a pilot and or you sign a contract or you don't sign a contract. And if you sign a contract, you're going to become a pilot. And if you don't sign it, you're never going to become a pilot. But there are so many things which you don't realize at that time. When I was 19, I didn't realize like what is 600 euros a month for interest and all these extra costs, you know. You don't realize that. And it's the same thing with the type rating. A lot of airlines, you have to pay the type rating at that airline. So if you already have a type rating on the Airbus 320, for example, then the airlines don't care. You still take the type rating at that airline. And type rating depends. I mean, sometimes it's 30,000, sometimes it's 45,000, 50,000, 20,000. It's just, it really depends on the airline. So you have to pay that as well. So that will be added to your loan. So 150,000 plus 30 in average. I mean, it can be less, it can more likely that it's a little bit higher. 180,000 euros of debt, really? I mean, that is the case. So it's not that you're rich or something. I don't know if that's in your country the same thing. So if it's totally different, please let me know. Explain how that works in your country. If you can even get a loan, or if you used to get a loan, or if that's not possible at all. I hope I learned you a little bit more about the situation of a starting pilot. And let me know if you already knew this, or if you want to start a pilot training but don't really know how it's all working and what your costs really are. If you don't understand something about this video, just ask me or comment below. I'll try to explain that. Thank you for watching this video, and if you liked it, please subscribe and like this video, and maybe I'll see you next time.